In this video, we'll solve questions 14 to 18 of reading passage 2 of Cambridge IELTS Academic Book 18. I've already solved questions 19 to 21 in a video that's already been uploaded. You can find the link in the description of this video. The question type here is which paragraph contains the information, or this question type is also known as matching information. An important thing to look for in this question type is whether this instruction is mentioned or not. You may use any letter more than once. It is mentioned here, which means we can find answers to more than one question in one paragraph. In case of this question type, I first read all the questions, understand them, and keep in mind the important keywords for each. These are the words and phrases I keep in mind as I scan the passage for information. The parts of each sentence that I keep in mind are underlined on your screen. As you read through each of the statements in the question, you need to understand that there are two parts of each statement. One is the beginning 2-3 words and then the rest of it. The beginning 2-3 words of each statement tells you what kind of information you're looking for. If it says reference to or mention to something, that thing will just be mentioned. If it says examples of something, you're looking for multiple names. You're looking for examples of insects, so you're looking for names of insects, and so on. The second half of the sentence gives you some words or phrases which would be mentioned in some way in the passage, which we keep in mind as we scan the passage for information. I will not be explaining the solutions to all these questions in order. I will not be doing 14th first and then 15th and so on. I'll be discussing them as I found them, because that is how you would also find the answers as you're looking for them. In case you're looking for the answer to a particular question, the video is divided into chapters which mentions where each question number is discussed. Let's start now. Now that I've read the questions and understood them, the first question that caught my attention is the 17th question. It says examples of insects that attack trees. I've already solved questions 19 to 21. While solving these questions, I read through paragraphs D, E, and F. In paragraph E, I came across names of some insects. I read about sick or diseased trees. I read about pests and pathogens which harm these trees. And some names of insects were also mentioned. So what I do is I immediately go to paragraph E and make sure this is the answer. So what we have here is, with many pests and pathogens visiting forests, including, and this is followed by 4 names: beetle, borer, moth. So these are the examples of insects that attack trees. Pests are the insects that attack. Examples are all of these names. The word including tells us these are examples. So the answer to the 17th question is E. So this was the only question I was able to immediately get because of the questions I had already solved before. Now I have to start with paragraph A, trying to find answers. I will not be reading complete paragraphs. At least in the beginning, what I do is I read just the beginning and maybe the end of each paragraph, the first and the last sentence, and see if I can find some idea of what is mentioned in the paragraph. And then if I feel something is mentioned in the paragraph that is there in the question, then I may read the paragraph a little in detail. So I start with paragraph A. The tree's value depends on several factors, including, and this is followed by a list of factors on which the value of a tree depends. From this itself, we seem to have an answer. 15th question says, reference to the aspects of any tree that contribute to its worth. Worth, value, factors, aspects. What are the things about a tree that help us decide what the value or the worth of that tree is? The answer to the 15th question is A, and we got it from the very first sentence of the paragraph. What could be confusing is that the word value is mentioned in the first sentence of paragraph B as well. But the question says aspects. We are talking about more than one reason for assessing the value or the worth of a tree. That is why the answer to the 15th question cannot be B. It is A. So I'll start with paragraph B now. In the past, landowners were solely interested in the value of their trees as high quality timber. Solely means only. So what this means is that in the past or before, the trees were considered valuable only based on the quality of the timber. 14th question says, bad outcomes for a forest when people focus only on its financial reward. Financial reward could be about the value of something or how much money we can get from something. People are the landowners here. Solely is only. So they are interested in or they are focusing only on the money they can get. If this paragraph mentions any bad outcomes or anything bad that happens because of this could be the answer to the 14th question. What I do now is that I'll start reading every sentence of paragraph B. Wherever the sentence starts making a little sense, I'll start skipping some information in between, looking for some mention of something negative that happens because of focusing solely on the high quality timber. The parts of the paragraph that I focus on as I quickly read through it are in bold on your screen. The first 3-4 sentences in this paragraph talk about the process where trees with high quality timber are preferred, how there are forests which have a lot of low use wood or low quality wood. But the answer comes from this sentence which starts with, these trees have lower economic value. So there are multiple bad outcomes mentioned here. They compete for growth with higher value trees. They shade out desirable regeneration and decrease the health, leaving it more vulnerable to poor weather and disease. Just from this phrase, vulnerable to poor weather and disease, we immediately get the idea that something negative is being talked about. The answer to the 14th question is B. Just to quickly understand it again, people focusing only on the financial reward is mentioned in the first sentence of paragraph B, where they are solely interested in the value of the trees. Then it is talked about how only these trees are used and cut, and the trees with lower quality of timber are left behind, and this leads to bad outcomes or problems, which are mentioned in the second last sentence of this paragraph. I'll start with paragraph C now. Wood energy markets can accept less expensive wood material. At the first glance, this may not seem to connect to any of the questions. But wood energy is mentioned here. And one of our questions talk about use of wood to help run vehicles. So use of wood means wood energy will be used. So what I do is I quickly just look through this paragraph and I see quite a few words which catch my attention. Lorries, cars, that is vehicles, gasoline and ethanol are mentioned, which are fuels which are used for running these vehicles. The first half of the paragraph, till electricity, talks about how this low quality wood is already being used for different purposes, for heating or producing electricity. From this point, wood can also be gasified. We get a reference to what is mentioned in the 16th question. The 16th question uses the word potential. Potential means this is something which can be done in future. It is not being done now. In the passage it says, wood can also be gasified for electrical generation and can be made into liquid fuels for lorries and cars. This tells me that the answer to the 16th question is C. The only question we are left with now is 18th. So rather than starting with paragraph D and trying to read all the paragraphs, I'll read the question again. An alternative name for trees that produce low-use wood. Alternative means some other name. So we are looking for some other name for trees which produce low use wood. I could be wrong, but this sounds like something which would usually be mentioned either at the beginning of the passage or at the end of the passage. I have already gone through parts of paragraphs D, E, and F when looking for questions 19 to 21. I know these are all about different ways of cutting trees. So what I do is I start scanning through paragraph A. Paragraph A broadly talks about different ways in which trees are used and why they are valued. From paragraph B, we see a mention of woods which have high quality timber and low quality timber. This is something I could have noticed when I found the answer to the 14th question, which was also B, but I missed it. Now I'm noticing that there are phrases in quotes. These are names for such trees. To confirm, I'll just read the sentences which have phrases in quotes. This practice, called high grading, has left a legacy of low use wood. Some people even call these junk trees. So this clearly means an alternative name or another name for low use wood is junk trees. The answer to the 18th question is B. Just to recap how I attempted all these questions. First, I read through all of the questions, identifying the main things that I would keep in mind as I start scanning the passage. After that, instead of looking for answers of one question at a time, with all the questions in my mind, I start going through one paragraph at a time. To begin with, I start focusing only on the beginning of each paragraph, trying to see if I can get some idea of whether there could be a reference of something in the question there. And if I find a reference, I read through a little more of it. In this case, it helped me find almost all the answers very quickly. Obviously, sometimes the answers could be in the middle of a paragraph, and we may need to read it a little more, but it happens in very few questions. Another thing to keep in mind is that usually I do this question type last. I try to do those question types first where the information is easier to locate. I chose to change the order in which I usually attempt question types because I always try to do those question types first which are easier to locate. Now we are left with only one question type of this passage. The video with solutions to that one will be uploaded soon. That's it for now. Hope this helped you. All the very best.